Chapter 211 The Power of the Radiant Sun. The sun was blazing high up in the sky. In a clearing in the woods, Yi Yun stood upright in his linen clothes. His left hand was hanging down, while his right hand held the Thousand Army saber in a stretched-out manner. The blade was parallel to the ground. The saber, that was 7 feet 2 inches long, did not tremble at all. If a bowl full of water was placed on the blade tip, no water would spill out. Yi Yun maintained this posture for 15 minutes. Standing motionless, he was like a statue. While Yi Yun stayed motionless, Yi Yun's body was circulating a tremendous amount of energy. The radiant sun chi was surging like a tsunami. It was noon, and this was the time when the radiant sun chi was most intense. At this moment, the sun in the sky moved in a tiny angle. This made the shadows move slightly. The blade of the Thousand Army saber exited from the shade, and it reflected the glare of the sun, sending off a blinding white flash. In that split moment, Yi Yun moved. Boom! The radiant sun chi erupted from Yi Yun's body, like lava erupting from a volcano. Yi Yun's body drew out a series of shadows, and he charged at a towering cliff in front of him. Yi Yun's entire body seemed to be imbued within the blazing sun, and the Thousand Army saber was sent out with a slash, like a burning flame. Swish! A bright white flash fell from the sky. It was like a snow-white stream of water gushing through the sky. A thundering sound accompanied the blinding flash. A huge half-moon blade beam was sent out at an incredible speed, and it hit the cliff heavily. Boom! With an intense explosion, the blade beam had totally cut through the cliff. It was a deafening sound. 10 seconds later, the flash faded away. The cliff in front of Yi Yun was over 10 meters tall, but there was now a huge crack that went from the bottom to the top. This crack was a foot wide, and the two sides of the crack had been melted by the high temperature. It had melted into some magma-like substance. The 7 feet 2 inch long Thousand Army saber had sliced through a cliff, which was over 10 meters tall, with a 6 feet blade. This was all due to the radiant sun chi. With radiant sun chi powering the Thousand Army saber, its power was incomparable to before. If this saber were to slice a person, the result was obvious. Those not strong enough would not only be split into two, they might even be reduced to ashes. Yi Yun suddenly thought of a phrase commonly seen in the legendary novels from his past life: "My saber is not easily drawn, but once it unsheathes, it sees blood." This phrase was usually used by main characters to sound cool, but it was perfectly describing Yi Yun now. As the saber's power was too great, it was impossible to simply stop it touching. Hence, the moment it was unsheathed, it would see blood. There might not even be blood, since the blood would be burned dry by the radiant sun chi. I wonder what level my strength has reached now. Having arrived in the Taiya Divine City over a month ago, Yi Yun's strength had increased enormously because of him absorbing the primordial species and primordial herbs' energies, and also recently, by learning the Taiya sacred technique. His cultivation level was getting close to the late stages of purple blood. This cultivation level speed was going at a tremendous pace. Yi Yun wanted to test himself against all the top elites from all over the Divine Kingdom. "I'm really looking forward to the rookie rankings," Yi Yun said to himself as his fighting spirit burned. At dusk, Yi Yun returned to the Taiya Divine City. In the office, Yi Yun handed over his day's harvest. They had a total worth of 509 dragon scale runes. This amount greatly surprised Wang. "How did you pick so much?" Yi Yun's original speed of herb picking was about 200 dragon scale runes a day. He had not come for the past 10 or so days, yet his speed had doubled. Yi Yun shrugged and said, "I managed to form the Heaven's Eyeball in the past few days, so my perception has become sharper." It was really shocking to pick 500 dragon scale runes worth of herbs in a day, but Yi Yun had the perfect explanation now. But this explanation made Wang even more surprised. Formed the Heaven's Eyeball? How old was he? Thinking back, when Wang formed the Heaven's Eyeball, she was in the mid-stages of the Yuan Foundation realm. It was even further along her cultivation before she was able to completely open Heaven's eye. Wang's natural talent was not bad, but compared to Yi Yun, the gap was huge. He was a freak. Yi Yun could only be described as being a freak. He was not a genius because he was not outstanding, in fact, he was mediocre in some aspects. But in certain aspects, he had amazing talent. If this carried on, Wang did not know how far Yi Yun could go. She was looking forward to it. She even felt that she had underestimated Yi Yun in her assessment. And in the next few days, the number of herbs that Yi Yun turned in did not decrease, but it actually increased. It went from just over 500 dragon scale runes to 600 and then more than 600. In just 8 to 9 days' time, Yi Yun's accumulated 19,300 dragon scale runes from herb picking, breaking Zhong Yi's record. He broke the record? Wang found it amazing. She had never expected that she would see a young man break the previous herb picking record in her lifetime or even while she manned the Taiya Divine City's job office. The Taiya Divine City did not pay much attention to the records for the miscellaneous jobs, so they were not eligible to engrave their name on Sage Avenue. The rewards given were also much lesser than those given for hard records. But a record was still a record. It was still extraordinary. To the Taiya Divine City, it had been a long time since someone broke a record. As such, the news spread rapidly. When Yi Yun was in a dispute with the Hongdao Association before, it only spread amongst the first and second year recruits circle. The senior cultivators had no interest in a new association's gambling battle with a kid. But they would pay attention to the breaking of a record. Even the herb picking record was something to be concerned about. Even Qin Haodian and Li Xiao were no exception. In the central divine tower of the Taiya Divine City, a girl in a red dress stood in a earth-fire desolate heaven chamber. She had just completed a cauldron of desolate bone relics. She took out a lightly scented handkerchief to wipe the tiny droplets of sweat on her forehead. This girl was Luo Huier, the number one person on the man roll of honor. She was a mysterious person that seldom appeared in public. She had extremely great talent in alchemy as well as in the desolate heaven technique. This made many people incredulous. When Luo Huier showcased her talent, many large factions tried to recruit her, but all the carrots dangled out in front of her were rejected. As such, these factions began to suspect that Luo Huier already belonged to a particular faction. It was obviously impossible to recruit her if she came from a prominent family. But when they investigated Luo Huier's background, they could not find anything. It was as if she had appeared out of thin air. Her background was a complete mystery. This was such an anomaly that many even speculated that Luo Huier might come from an incredibly large family clan. This family clan might even be bigger than the Taiya Divine Kingdom. They thought this was the reason why they couldn't find out anything. But all of these speculations were illogical. The simple reason was that, if Luo Huier came from a super family clan, she had no reason to come to the Taiya Divine City for training. Although the Taiya Divine City was impressive, it was nothing compared to the factions that were stronger than the Taiya Divine Kingdom. It was likely that they had better training grounds than the Taiya Divine City, so if Luo Huier came from an impressive background, then why did she not stay in her own faction for training? Hence, Luo Huier's identity became even more puzzling. At this time, Luo Huier was carefully opening the cauldron. A square array disc flew out. On the array disc were 7 green desolate bone relics. They were jumping around in a mischievous manner as if they were jumping pixies. An aromatic smell that fascinated people emanated out. Although she was tired, Luo Huier had an excited expression on her tiny, flushed face. Storing away the desolate bone relics, Luo Huier took out a mirror. She tidied up her hair that had gone messy after finishing her refinement process. She said to herself while facing the mirror, as expected of Luo Huier, "You can even refine relics of such a level." While saying that, a gorgeous smile appeared. With this smile, 2 cute dimples appeared at the edges of her lips. "Hee hee, I can take these to the 10,000 pagoda." Then I'll only be 8,000 dragon scale runes short of breaking the refining record. It sure wasn't easy. I heard that no one has broken any records in the Taiya Divine City for 2,000 to 3,000 years. They will need me to break one. Come to think of it, there was some crazy dude called Su Jie who appeared in the Taiya Divine City 30,000 years ago. That guy pushed the Desolate Heaven technique record too high. If not, I would have broken the Desolate Heaven technique record in my first year. I don't know how the Taiya Divine Kingdom got so lucky as to produce such a powerful Desolate Heaven master who can barely keep up to 70 to 80% of my standard. As the girl in red spoke, her expressions were vivid. The way she looked at the mirror and spoke to herself was a rare sight. But then again, this is good. After I break the record, no one will ever be able to break the Desolate Heaven technique record again. My name Luo Horror will stay here forever. But, to break the record, I haven't been practicing my alchemy. Although I know that among the Desolate Heaven technique and alchemy, it's better to practice one, but my alchemy skills are good too. I can't bear to give up on it. Having so much talent sure is a headache. Luo Hoyer's words sounded extremely arrogant, but accompanied by her good looks and charming smile, it appeared extremely cute. But at this moment, a small lowly ran into the Desolate Heaven chamber in a panic. She shouted as she ran, Miss, something bad has happened. Chapter 212, Maidservant Donger. The little lowly who ran in had not grown up yet. She looked even smaller than Yun. She wore a loose dress, and because it was inconvenient to run in it, she used her two tiny hands to clutch her skirt while running. The bangs on her forehead bounced as she ran. Luo Horror immediately wrinkled her cute pair of small eyebrows. What's with the panic? Seriously, shouting over some matter. Ladylike. Do you know what it means to be ladylike? Luo Horror pointed at the young girl's head without any reservations. With her lecture, the young girl's forehead turned red. The young girl said in a very wronged manner, Miss Donger knows. This young girl was Luo Hoyer's servant girl. Amazingly, Luo Horror actually brought a servant girl when she entered the Taiya Divine City. Others, even people from the royal family like Yan Qian, did not bring an imperial maid or a eunuch with them. Tell me, what's the big deal? Is the Mimi you are rearing not eating again? Mimi was Donger and Luo Hoyer's cat. Not only did Luo Horror bring a servant girl with her into the Taiya Divine City, she also brought a cat. No. Donger shook her head like a rattle. She had a cute mushroom hairstyle, and with this shake of her head, her silky hair flew up. Mrs. Someone has broken a record. Broken a record? Luo Horror was stunned for a while. You said broken a record. Who broke it? Luo Horror widened her already excessively large eyes. Was something wrong? No record had been broken in the Taiya Divine City in a few thousand years. She was just about to break one, but someone had beaten her to it. How could there be such a coincidence? Yes, that person is called Yun. He broke the herb-picking record. I think he's 12 to 13 years old. Yun? The brat who got lucky and picked a primordial herb? Luo Horror had previously heard of Yun picking the heaven-purple yang ginseng that failed, surviving a calamity. She was very jealous of Yun's luck. Why didn't she pick it? With the heaven-purple yang ginseng, she could use it to practice. It was a primordial herb and she had never refined a primordial herb into a drug before. It was unexpected that just a few days later, Yun had broken the herb-picking record. Luo Horror was extremely pissed. If she broke a record after Yun, it wouldn't be as impressive. He was cheating. He earned a lot of dragon scale runes from picking the primordial herb. This herb was probably more than half of the record. Luo Horror ground her teeth as she felt disgruntled. She was supposed to be the first, but now Yun broke the record purely due to good luck. Besides, how could a herb-picking record compare to a Desolate Heaven technique record? The Desolate Heaven Technique record was a big record, and its rewards were excellent. Not only would it be regarded highly by the upper echelon of the Taiya Divine City, once it was broken, one could leave one's name on Sage Avenue and even stir up the entire Taiya Divine Kingdom. As for picking herbs, that was practically the worst record in the Taiya Divine City. The person who designed that record probably did it out of a whim. The rewards were also pathetic. How could the herb picking record compare with the Desolate Heaven Technique record? They were far from being on the same level. But both of them had the same term of breaking a record. This was unfair. What right did one have to say breaking a record by picking herbs? Forget it, I won't stoop down so low as to compare mine with such a low-level record. Luo Horror consoled herself and slowly calmed herself. Right, Mrs. Yi Yun offended the Hongdao Association. In the upcoming rookie competition, the Hongdao Association will be specifically taking care of Yi Yun. It seems all of them want to fight Yi Yun. Donger told her another piece of information. However, Luo Horror was uninterested in this piece of information. Hongdao Association? An organization formed of a bunch of brats only. Brats fighting against brats is something compatible. Luo Horror was completely uninterested in the arena level Yi Yun was involved in. What standard could they have? In fact, Luo Horror was not ranked high on the Heaven and Earth rankings, only in the man rankings was she ranked first. A person had limited energy and time. Luo Horror spent most of her time practicing the Desolate Heaven technique and alchemy. As a result, she seldom went out to hunt desolate beasts, so her ranking on the Heaven Roll of Honor was very low. As for the arena battles, Luo Horror never participated in it after the rookie rankings. Her reason was, it is irritating to always be challenged. After the news of Yi Yun breaking the herb-picking record spread, the Hongdao Association naturally learned of it. Regarding this, the Hongdao Association was very happy. Picking herbs did not depend on strength. There was no use breaking the herb-picking record. The biggest benefit was that Yi Yun was rich again, allowing them the opportunity to win even more dragon scale runes. They had already heard that Yi Yun received a one-time award of 25,000 dragon scale runes and 2 glory points from breaking the herb-picking record. Added with the amount Yi Yun earned from picking herbs, and the amount he borrowed from the usury, a conservative estimate of Yi Yun's wealth was above 35,000 dragon scale runes. This large sum of wealth made everyone envious. As a result, many of the new members of the Hongdao Association, especially those rich young masters from the capital, rushed to the bank to pawn all of their belongings in exchange for dragon scale runes. They were waiting for the rookie ranking competition to bet with Yi Yun. The Hongdao Association even opened a special leadership meeting to decide on the order in battling Yi Yun. As for the capital's 4 bully lords, being seniors among the capital's circle, and with their relations with Li Hong, they easily became the first 4. They were the first to fight with Yi Yun. Hence, the 4 bully lords were overjoyed. Ha! Thank you to all the brothers' help, offering this opportunity to us. In the future, if you ever need any of our help, we will never refuse. The 4 bully lords smiled and cupped their hands, as if they were celebrating their victory parade. Someone shouted, "Brothers, don't go too far. If you cripple Yi Yun, the judge might decide that Yi Yun is not fit for battle, then we won't have a chance to fight later on." Ha ha! Don't worry. We will control our beatings, making sure that he gets beaten up badly without affecting his later battles. The 4 bully lords felt some regret for not being able to heartily beat up Yi Yun. At this time, Li Hong, who was sitting at the seat of honor, said, "You guys be careful too. Don't fail miserably in this very easy task. This kid has some skill. He has gone to the Wilderness Divine Hall many times recently, and has spent quite a considerable amount of dragon scale runes in doing so." Ever since Li Hong became enemies with Yi Yun, he had paid close attention to Yi Yun. He had spies in places like the Wilderness Divine Hall, so Li Hong knew much of Yi Yun's recent actions. Wilderness Divine Hall? Many times? That kid. The four bully lords were stunned when they heard this. They were suddenly infuriated. It was as if a beautiful goddess that was within sight but beyond reach was now being pressed onto a bed for Yi Yun to do anything with. Fatty among the four bully lords said in a grudging way, "A place like the Wilderness Divine Hall is just to use the primordial species pressure to compress a person's chi and blood. It's a waste going there often. This kid has lots of dragon scale runes, yet he spends it wastefully. I hate him. We had to work very hard for many days just to earn a bit of dragon scale runes. Right, we haven't even entered the Wilderness Divine Hall a second time yet. We haven't gone to the Sword Scar Palace either. We can't buy most of the items in the 10,000 pagoda as well. Yet with a bit of luck, this kid is wastefully spending resources. It's such a huge waste of treasures. These resources should belong to us." Seeing the four bully lords rage, someone in the Hongdao Association said, "The Taya Divine City is a place where strength matters. Relying on luck without strength is not the way to success. You are right. These resources are rightfully ours. We just need to grab them from him." Right, grab them from him. The four bully lords echoed, agreeing to it. But Li Hong said, "Besides going to the Wilderness Divine Hall many times, I have news that Yi Yun used the Heaven Purple Yang Ginseng reward back then to exchange for the Taya Sacred Technique. The Taya Sacred Technique." Li Hong's words set off another huge storm at the venue. The four bully lords felt a surge of blood to their heads. They were enraged. All of the good stuff had gone to the pigs. Yi Yun a bumpkin from the Cloud Wilderness, and he actually exchanged for the Taya Sacred Technique. What gave him the right to learn this cultivation technique? The Taya Sacred Technique. What a joke. Only 1 in 5 geniuses can learn this cultivation technique and obtain radiant sun chi. Those are geniuses. Even geniuses have such a low probability learning it. It really boils my blood. How can the Taya Divine City's elder give the Taya Sacred Technique to such a person? It's really an insult to the Taya Sacred Technique. The four bully lords were extremely pissed. They too wanted to learn the Taya Sacred Technique. Although the probability of learning it was low, they too had some hope that they were lucky. If they were to learn it, their life would become completely different. It could make their family members see them in a different light. They could walk proudly amongst the young master circles in the capital. Those famous beauties in the capital would stick to them, actively trying to get close to them. When that happened, wouldn't they be able to pick and choose? F***K, if I learn the Taya Sacred Technique, Zhang Xinlian, that B***H, would not dare reject me. She would even obediently climb into my bed. The four bully lords Lofty was unhappy and said the thoughts buried deep within his heart. Back then, he had been rejected by Zhang Xinlian, and bore a grudge as a result. He couldn't wait to tear off the arrogant Zhang Xinlian's clothes and devastate her body. All of them wanted to try learning the Taya Sacred Technique, but the cost of trying it was too high. They had no way of affording it. They did not even have the chance to try, yet Yi Yun had wasted it. It was obvious how they felt. Yi Yun, this bumpkin, wants to learn the Taya Sacred Technique. He sure is a toad lusting after swan meat. Right. Right. The eldest among the capitals for bully lords, Fatty suddenly slapped his thigh. He thought of something which made him extremely excited. He even said words with a tremble, "You guys, say. Is it possible to get Yi Yun to bet the Taya Sacred Technique?" When Fatty said it, everyone immediately quietened down. Using the Taya Sacred Technique as a bet. This proposal made everyone shocked. But one by one, they became excited. Maybe there was a possibility? Chapter 213, Rookie Rankings. Ever since Yi Yun broke the record, he led a quiet life. He still went to the number 60 herb mountain to pick herbs, and to practice the Taya Sacred Technique. Yi Yun passed his 13th birthday during this period. Although his face still looked a bit childish, but after practicing martial arts for some time now, his body had begun to slowly grow. He was now a handsome young man. It was still 10 days away from the rookie rankings competition. Yi Yun had complete control over his radiant sun chi. He had also completed his foundation in the first level of the Taiya sacred technique. Yi Yun, the rookie competition's rankings are out. When Yi Yun was eating dinner, Song Zijuan and Zhou Kuei came to find him. Song Zijuan and Zhou Kuei could be considered to be under the same tutelage as Yi Yun. All of them came from the Jing state and the nearby states, together with Baldi Qin, to the Taiya divine city. Although Zhou Kuei and Yi Yun had some falling out and competition earlier, it was now a thing of the past. After the Hongdao Association singled out Yi Yun, Zhou Kuei felt conscience-stricken. Besides, during the rookie ranking competition, they would be part of the same team, hence, their relations had to be closer, and they had to help one another. Oh? What rankings are you talking about? Yi Yun raised his head without understanding much. The rookies' rankings. Before the rookie competition, all of us rookies will be given an approximate ranking. Later, we will be fighting according to our ranks. The people ranked towards the back can challenge the people ranked in the front, and the people ranked in front cannot refuse the challenge. Of course, both sides have to place a bet. In contrast, the people in front can also challenge the people at the back, but the opposite party can refuse. And there's not much benefit to it, hence, that seldom happens. Zhou Kuei explained. He had been looking at the rookie rankings for a long time. He had always wanted to know what his ranking would be. Although this ranking was decided by the Taiya Divine City's administration and was not a complete reflection of a person's strength, it also decided on a person's potential. It was also a matter of face. Anyone would wish for their rank to be high, despite the fact that being ranked higher meant they had to fight more. Oh, so it's that ranking. What's my ranking? Yi Yun carried on eating his meat, clearly uninterested in the rankings. When Song Zijuan and Zhou Kuei saw Yi Yun's behavior, they were speechless. This Yi Yun was too magnanimous. Did he not know how many people were eyeing him? Your ranking is 10,003. Zhou Kuei looked at Yi Yun with sympathy. 10,003? What does it mean? Yi Yun did not understand immediately. Actually, it means third place. According to rules, the rookie rankings competition will begin from 10,000 onwards. The first place will be 10,001, second 10,002, so you are in third place. The elites in the Divine Kingdom would train in the Taiya Divine City for 6 consecutive years. Each batch was approximately 2,000 people. Counting the sum of the first 5 batches, it typically exceeded 10,000. With the rookies' first place starting from 10,000 onwards, some veterans will end up being interspersed among the rankings past 10,000. For the veterans to be ranked among the recruits, it was a very shameful thing to them. Third place, this ranking is pretty good. Yi Yun was very pleased, but he knew that his earned dragon scale runes accounted largely to the rankings. His dragon scale runes earnings were definitely first in the Taiya Divine City amongst the rookies. As a result, being third place was reasonable. Hearing Yi Yun's words, Song Zijuan and Zhou Kuei were speechless. Being third place was just pretty good? Also, did Yi Yun not know what he was facing? Fire was burning at his doorstep, yet he was eating his meat delightfully. Zhou Kuei said, Yi Yun, do you know what my ranking is? Oh? What is it? Yi Yun asked. 11,523. This is the overall ranking. If it's just among the 2,000 rookies, I'm approximately ranked around 1,100. The additional 400 people are the veterans who did not enter the top 10,000. In the past 3 months of rookie training, I had given my all, and only barely entered the middle ranks. Brother Zijuan and some of my Xuanwu army brothers are ranked even further back. Many of those who entered the first 1,000 are from the Zhong state, the imperial city or reclusive family clans. Many reputable and ridiculous people are all ranked behind you. Jokue explained to Yi Yun what it meant to be ranked third. Ignoring the reclusive family clans that could probably match the royal family, just the family clans in the imperial city were far from what the Jing state family clans could match. As the saying goes, you don't know how small your title is until you go to the capital. Nobles in the Divine Kingdom's imperial city may be in charge of some tiny offices and their fiefs may not be big, but when compared to other local places, they could be in charge of a middle-sized city. Of course, the local family clans had no way of competing with the imperial city for resources and bloodlines. Those with strong bloodlines and a strong family clan foundation would often move closer to the imperial city. Ignoring the imperial city's resources, just from the fact that their younger generations could marry the members from the imperial city's large family clans made their own family clan's bloodline better. Brother E, you sure became a bigwig. I know a brother whose father is a marquis. He's considered pretty good within his family clan, but he's only ranked around 200 amongst the rookies. Also, there are 2 grandsons of the Xuanwu Army's marshal who is in the same batch as us. Their rankings are around 300. Now do you know what it means to be ranked third? I see. Ian wiped the oil off his mouth. It sounded really exaggerated. There were too many family clans in the Tai Divine Kingdom. Every family clan had a huge number of sons and grandsons. Not only was it difficult to charge up the Tai Divine City's overall rankings, even to rank high among the 2,000 over rookies was not an easy task. That's why many people are eyeing you. And the 2 people ahead of you, one of them is Chunyo, and the other is Chu Xiaoran. One of them was born with supernatural strength, and the other has extraordinary perceptivity. You may not know that when many of us were doing odd jobs, Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran already went into the divine wilderness to hunt desolate beasts. They even have a ranking on the Heaven Roll of Honor now. That is why they are ranked first and second. Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran are taking this opportunity to charge up the Earth rankings. I have no idea how far they will go. They might even reach the 3000 to 4000 ranking. After the rookie rankings were decided, Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran, who were at the top, could be challenged by others behind them, but at the same time, they had the right to challenge more senior cultivators in the rankings ahead of them. Challenging someone also meant betting. To see how far they could go, it depended on their own skills. Baldy Chin had previously said that whichever rookie could enter the top 1,000 of the Heaven or Earth Roll within a year would receive the attention of various large factions in the Tai Divine Kingdom. Yi Yun and his batch of rookies had entered the Tai Divine City 3 months ago. If he wanted to enter the top 1,000 within a year, then entering the top 300 to 400 now would not be considered too great an exaggeration. Chunyo, Chu Xiaoran, Yi Yun pondered slightly. These 2 people had the capability to enter the divine wilderness to hunt desolate beasts, while others were doing odd jobs. Indeed, they had the ability, or they would not be ranked first and second. Yi Yun did not know how far he could rise up the Earth ranking at this time. Brother E, nobody dares to touch Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran. So now, everybody is eyeing you. You have become extremely famous among the rookies in the Tai Divine City. Everyone knows that you are overflowing with wealth. And according to the rules, you were ranked third largely not due to your strength. It was all due to you earning too many dragon scale runes. You picking the primordial herb and breaking the herb picking record have made many people jealous. Many people are disgruntled by the fact that you are ranked so far ahead. With your wealth, many people are eyeing it and want to take a bite off your flesh, and that doesn't only include the Hongdao Association. But the Hongdao Association has already made it clear that no one is to challenge you without their permission. If anyone does so, they would be snatching business from the Hongdao Association, and the Hongdao Association will make sure to get even with them, so this has discouraged many. It could be said to be a blessing in disguise. Song Zijuan said with a wry smile. Clearly, the words blessing in disguise was satirical. When Yun heard this, he rubbed his chin, snatching business? Using this term means they are treating me as fish meat put onto a cutting board. Zhou Kuei said, Brother Yi, the first round of registrations for the battles are beginning soon. Each day is limited to 12 battles. Your nameplate has been eyed by many, so they would all begin snatching for it at the beginning. You will likely have to fight 12 matches a day for 3 consecutive days. You might not know, but the Hongdao Association have even begun taking bets on how many matches you can last. I think the first few opponents will be the Hongdao Association's 4 bully lords. They are ranked in the top few hundred amongst the rookies. While I was forging, I met one of them. Their reputation in the capital is much greater than mine. 4 bully lords? Yun thought about the rare tall, short, fat, thin combination he saw in the pawnshop. These guys were at least nice, to pawn all their assets to gamble with him. Brother Yi, I bought the bet that you can complete more than 10 rounds. Song Zijuan patted Yun on the shoulder as he said that to show his support. Actually, Song Zijuan, Zhou Kuei and the youths that came with them from the Jing state knew Yun was strong. Even without dragon scale runes, Yun could get a high ranking just from his strength. The crux of the problem was he might not be able to last through a tag team battle. And Yun's third place was too ridiculous. Those rookies among the top 50 were all formidable people. Some of them could even charge into the top 4,000 in the Earth rankings. Thank you. Yun cupped his hands. Where's the registration going on? I want to see it when the registration officially begins. He had a limited number of fights a day. He could not just fight with any Tom, Dick, or Harry. They had to have some quality, actually, they had to have a sufficient amount of dragon scale runes. If not, wouldn't it be a waste of a battle? Chapter 214, Betting All One's Wealth. The Rookie Earth ranking competition was the first battle for this batch of rookies in the Tai A Divine City. People treated this, as it was their first public display in the Tai A Divine City, very seriously. All of them wanted to stand out. All these proud children of heaven came from all over the kingdom. Many of them were arrogant. Although many faced setbacks when they first entered the Tai A Divine City, they quickly regained their confidence. Especially in the past few months of training, these rookies had all improved, and they wanted to showcase their abilities. At this time, the rookie registration had begun. This batch of rookies were declaring who they wanted to compete with in their first battle. After they succeeded, they would receive a corresponding nameplate token. When Yun's nameplate appeared, many people were trying to grab it. But at this time, the advantage of a society could be seen. As the biggest society amongst the rookies, the Hongdao Association easily received Yun's nameplate. Who's sick of living? To dare snatch it away from me? The 4 bully lords' tall guy stepped on a stool with one foot and, with a shiny dagger in hand, faced the crowd. Pa! A nameplate fell into the tall guy's hand. This was Yun's challenge nameplate. It was not easy for others to compete for it when in front of a society. You bunch of people, don't gather here to waste your opportunity. Do you know how much that kid Yun is worth? How many of you can take out 500 dragon scale runes? You dare to bet with that amount? A chief of the Hongdao Association said loudly. To the rookies, 500 dragon scale runes was a huge sum. Indeed, many of them could not afford it. But for Yun, with his wealth amounting to tens of thousands dragon scale runes, a few hundred dragon scale runes was nothing to him. As people were in a heated verbal exchange, someone suddenly said, "Hey, isn't that kid Yun?" These words immediately attracted the attention of many. Everyone looked over and saw that at the entrance to the hall, a youth in linen clothes was leaning on a wooden railing, looking at the ongoings with interest. This youth had bright eyes and distinct facial features. His face had a tinge of childishness. Who else was it but Yun? It's really that kid. The people from the Hongdao Association naturally recognized Yun. The rookie competition is beginning soon and we are all waiting for this kid.
Looking at him, he doesn't seem worried at all.
Many began discussing.
Yi Yun stood upright and greeted the Hongdao Association's people with a smile.
Seeing this scene, many turned speechless. Did Yi Yun not know the vendetta the Hongdao Association had with him? Seeing how he even greeted them, they wondered if this kid knew what the Hongdao Association was going to do. It was as if all that was happening in front of him had nothing to do with him. Everyone, have you amassed your betting amounts? Yi Yun looked towards the Hongdao Associations for bully lords and the chiefs, and asked, betting amounts? He. Someone laughed saying, of course we have prepared the betting amounts. For you, we have amassed a large amount of dragon scale runes to gamble with in the fights with you. It's at least 800 dragon scale runes around. This amount might stun others, making us feel bad announcing it. When the person from the Hongdao Association said this, many people gasped. 800 dragon scale runes a match. Many rookies had to work hard to earn 800 dragon scale runes for more than a month. But now, that amount would be over in one match. They realized that many amongst them did not have the right to fight with Yi Yun as they could not afford it. Besides, Yi Yun was not a pushover. Many of them had gathered here, but in reality, they did not have much confidence in facing Yi Yun. Betting 800 was too much. When faced with the number 800, Yi Yun clearly lacked interest. He shook his head saying, 800 dragon scale runes a match? To think you have the nerve to say that. You guys are so poor. I even saw quite a number of you going to the bank to pawn items, but why do you only have these small amounts of dragon scale runes? Yi Yun said sarcastically. Zhou Kuei and Song Zijuan who were behind him became dumbfounded upon hearing this. They only accompanied Yi Yun to watch. They thought Yi Yun was simply here to check out the competition, so that he wouldn't lose too badly when he really fought in the arena. But they never expected that Yi Yun would immediately slap the Hongdao Association in the face. Not only did he ridicule them as being poor, he even mentioned that these young masters had gone to the bank to pawn items. To these respected young masters from family clans, pawning items was definitely not something to be proud of. The shamefulness was just slightly better than borrowing from an usury. Did Yi Yun feel like he wasn't hated enough? He was practically asking to be hit. As expected, the members of the Hongdao Association became enraged. If it was not for this being in public, they would have immediately attacked. Kid, don't boast so much. Did you not go to the bank to borrow from the usury? Yi Yun said nonchalantly, that's right. I just borrowed a tiny bit. It was just a small amount of 5,000. I thought I would not have enough dragon scale runes, but now I realized that I was overworried. I have about 40,000 dragon scale runes, but you guys are betting 800 a match. When can you exhaust it all? At my level, it's pretty easy to earn dragon scale runes. It's just a number after all. Yi Yun said it lightly. Over the past few days, he had accumulated more than 40,000 dragon scale runes from picking herbs. But by saying it this way, even Song Zijuan and Zhou Kuei, let alone the Hongdao Association members, felt that Yi Yun was asking to be beaten. He was practically trying to stir their hate for him. He was just short of saying, come beat me up. Many of the Hongdao Association members were hot-blooded youths. It was easy for them to get upset, but now, with Yi Yun's instigation, many wished that they could fight it out with Yi Yun right there and then. The eldest among the four bully lords reached out and took out his interspatial ring. He placed it on the table and bit his teeth. I'll bet 1,000 dragon scale runes and this ring. Interspatial ring. Someone blurted out but quickly corrected himself, it's the Gongsun family's manufactured earth-ranked interspatial ring. It's not easy to purchase it. Many watched this with horror. An interspatial equipment was originally expensive, but it being produced the Gongsun family made its price even higher. An interspatial ring was a luxurious item. But to many warriors, especially those who went out to hunt desolate beasts,
this was a very valuable piece of equipment. It could store various battle necessities like weapons, arrows, supplements, protective charms, etc. Expensive Desolate Beast material could also be stored within the interspatial ring. In the Tai Divine City's 10,000 pagoda, there were interspatial rings for sale. But even the interspatial ring with the smallest space was worth more than 2,000 dragon scale runes. A better one would cost tens of thousands of dragon scale runes. There were those that cost more than 100,000 dragon scale runes. But typical Tai Divine City cultivators would seldom buy an interspatial ring from the 10,000 pagoda, as there were many uses for dragon scale runes. It was too wasteful to use it to buy a ring.
Most of their interspatial rings were brought from their own families. Those families who could equip their young with interspatial rings were powerful families.
A large number of cultivators who came to the Tai Divine City did not have interspatial rings.
What's more, the one taken out by the 4 bully lords was a high-quality interspatial ring. Yun scanned the ring and was satisfied. These 4 bully lords sure were nice. He was just lacking an interspatial ring, and they sent one over to him. When Yun previously said that dragon scale runes was just a number to him, he was deliberately exaggerating to anger the Hongdao Association. There was no worry over having too many dragon scale runes, no matter how many one had. The Tai Divine City had plenty of resources that needed a massive amount of dragon scale runes to purchase. Just Yun's saber skills were crude and needed to be improved urgently. If Yun planned to train in the Desolate Heaven technique, those dragon scale runes would be spent just like flowing water. Yun's 40,000 dragon scale runes were really nothing if he wanted to spend them. Any other larger bets? Yun was secretly satisfied with the Earth-ranked interspatial ring, but he faked an expression as if the ring barely made his minimum requirements.
This undoubtedly offended many again. The 4 bully lords always stood together. They quickly took off their interspatial rings and placed the rings on the table one by one. This bet included 4 rings. 4 rings could be all worn together. As a result, the space would be greater. If not, Yun could always exchange all of them for a better interspatial ring. This bet was pretty tempting. Under Yun's provocation, the Hongdao Association members began to increase the stakes. As a result, this round of rookie competitions became more heated. This competition was destined to make great waves amongst the rookie circles. Time passed, and the rookie ranking competition had finally begun. To the rookies, this was a critical battle. This battle could largely decide a rookie's future success in the Tai Divine City. Those who rose up high on the Earth rankings would often stay high. In the coming years, whether it was the Heaven or Earth ranking, they would often rank at the top, becoming a prominent person. Hence, every time there was a rookie ranking competition, large factions would pay attention to it. There was no exception this time. The Tai Divine City seldom allowed unauthorized people to enter. But some of the administrators in the Divine City had ties with the various large factions. In fact, some of them came from those large factions, so much of the news happening within the Tai Divine City would be known firsthand by the Tai Divine Kingdom's factions. The various factions' main focus was naturally Chu Xiaoran and Xionyou. These 2 people were the daughter of a defending duke and the top son of a reclusive family clan. It was even possible for them to enter the top 1,000 of the Heaven or Earth rolls within 1 year. This was an impressive achievement. Besides the 2, Yun was also paid attention by a number of factions out of convenience. The main reason was because Yun had earned a large sum of dragon scale runes from picking herbs, that resulted in him being challenged by a large group of people. This was an interesting matter in the holding of the rookie ranking competition. Of course, it was just an interesting matter. A youth with special talent at picking herbs was a talent, but it did not mean he was worth the effort to be recruited and nurtured by these large factions. Chapter 215, The Opening of the Ranking Competition. The Divine Wilderness was located to the north of the Tai Divine Kingdom, so the weather there tended to be cold. Today, the polar winds blew, causing a large snowstorm throughout the night. A layer of snow built up overnight and it transformed the Tai A Divine City into a world of snow. Just before dawn, while the sky was still dark, Iyun walked out of his stone house. Seeing the thick layer of snow reflecting the light from the blue sky, it suffused a layer of light blue gloss. The blue snow matched with the surrounding unsophisticated stone houses, and the cold, metallic city walls gave people a feeling of living in a magical legendary world.
Dang! Dang! Dang!
At this time, sounds came from the arena, which spread throughout the Tai A Divine City.
It was slow and melodiously long. It was the bell that indicated the start of the rookie ranking competition.
The Tai A Divine City's cultivators, especially the rookies, were waiting for the bell to ring. Many of them had meditated through the night to push their mental state to its optimal state, waiting for their battles. The cultivators were about to fight their first battles in the Tai A Divine City. These battles would determine their futures. The rookies came out from their various residences and they all formed a flow of people that headed towards the arena.
There were some second and third year veterans who followed the rookies into the arena.
They came specifically to watch the rookies' competition.
At every rookie competition, there were always some excellent rookies who stood out. They could enter the top 6,000 or even 4,000. These people had the ability to pose a threat to the senior cultivators who had been in the Tai A Divine City for 3 to 4 years. Hence, many of them wanted to see who the formidable ones from this batch of rookies were, the ones that were worthy of their attention. I heard that for this rookie ranking competition, the Divine City has increased the rewards. Whoever is able to enter the top 8,000 will receive Dragon Scale Runes as a reward. If they can enter the top 6,000, the reward will be doubled. Furthermore, the top ranker amongst the rookies will obtain a glory point and they will also be awarded with cultivation opportunities in the Sword Scar Palace and Sage Temple. Amongst the people, some of the rookies who were more informed about the rewards mentioned what they had heard. The Tai A Divine City had not officially announced these rewards, but the officials had already decided on them. Sword Scar Palace? Sage Temple? And a glory point?
Tisk. When many rookies heard this, their mouth watered. But they knew that they basically had no chance at these rewards. This year's rewards were exceptionally good, as the upper echelons of the Tai A Divine City felt that this batch of rookies was not bad, so they increased the reward ratio. For example, Chu Xiaoran and Xionyou were hopeful candidates to enter the top 1,000 within a year. To have two such figures in a year was absolutely amazing.
Many people were looking forward to Chu Xiaoran and Xionyou's battle.
Iyun was mixed into the crowd as he listened to people talk.
He did not say anything, but no matter where he went, he was like a firefly in the dark night. He was extremely eye-catching and everyone he met on the street looked at him. See that guy? He's a fierce figure amongst the rookies.
He alone got into trouble with the entire Hongdao Association.
Everyone looked over, seeing Iyun in linen clothes with an extremely long blade behind him.
His hands were in his pockets as he slowly strolled towards the arena. From this, it looked like Iyun was just heading to the cookhouse for breakfast and he was in no way nervous or worried. At this moment, people were secretly horrified.
Ridiculous. To be declared war on by so many people, yet he didn't care about it. Not only that, the kid's attitude had already reached a point of invincibility and he was invulnerable to anything. He's a true fighter. Some people sighed. Many were impressed by Iyun. In this batch of first-year recruits, Iyun's name was widely known.
All the major events such as capturing a primordial herb, breaking a record, embarrassing the Hongdao Association were all related to Iyun.
If this sort of person wasn't a fighter, what was he?
About 15 minutes later, people from all around the Tai A Divine City slowly gathered in the arena.
The Tai A Divine City's arena was a huge circular building which was tens of stories high. There were 12 main entrances to the arena. In the middle were 9 stages. 8 smaller stages surrounded a central big stage.
Around the stages were rows of weapon racks. These racks had a variety of sabers, swords, spears, halberds, polearms, bow, whips. All of the 18 types of weapons were present. Although the quality of these weapons were not the best, they were uncommon. They were all crafted in the Tai A Divine City's forging workshops, and they were crafted by many of the cultivators. Of course, the cultivators who could place their products on the arena were amongst the best.
However, warriors in the arena would typically not choose the weapons on the racks as they would prefer to use their own weapons.
About 20 meters away from the weapon racks, there was a viewing stand.
This stand had multiple layers and it could easily hold 20,000 people.
Each viewing stand was vast and the seats were also very comfortable. The arena was always the spot in the Tai A Divine City that had the most number of people. Many of the experts in the Tai A Divine City would gather here to fight. The more participants there were, the bigger the audience.
Many cultivators also came to watch others fight. From the duels of experts, they could gain some experience. To the warriors, this could be very beneficial. With 2,000 rookies and over 1,000 senior cultivators, along with the staff, there were not more than 4,000 people. Even after they entered the arena, the entire arena was still relatively empty.
It was very easy for the arena to hold 4,000 people.
"Are you all here?"
When Yun came to his spot, he heard a voice.
It was Baldy Chin. As Yun's, Zhou Kuei's and company's instructor, Baldy Chin certainly couldn't be absent for these recruits' first battles. Make sure you focus on your battles. Whether you are a mule or a horse, we will know once it begins.
Internally, our training can be anything, but in public, none of you are to throw my face.
Understand.
Baldy Chin's opening speech was extremely simple.
Zhou Kuei and company shouted loudly, "Understood." "Good." Baldy Chin nodded. He looked at Yun with a meaningful glance. "Kid, you sure are good."
Yun replied with a salute and replied simply, reporting to the instructor, "I am doing well."
"Ha! Great morale. Even if they were to do a tag team battle, you must make it big for our Jing State recruit camp. Kill them all." Baldy Chin hit Yun on the shoulder with force. With a loud thud, the ground under Yun trembled. The youths around were secretly horrified. This slap could easily kill an elephant. But Yun could withstand it without flinching. "Yes, instructor." Yun gave a resounding response. Baldy Chin was satisfied. "Heard that? Don't think they are that strong just because they are ranked further ahead of you. Raise your spirits. Even if you were to be beaten down in the arena, you must also pull them down with you." Baldy Chin cheered on the recruits.
At this time, a law enforcer from the Central Divine Tower appeared in the central stage and gave his opening speech. His opening speech was simple. He announced the rules of the competition and the ranking system. After announcing the final rewards, he declared the beginning of the ranking competition. Dang! The gong represented the beginning of the competition. After another strike of the gong, many of the recruits held their breaths. Their first battle in the Tai A Divine City would be done in the presence of so many people. It included all the elites from all over the kingdom, their instructors, and the law enforcers. It also included their family clans, who used various channels to watch their competition. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for them to not be tense. The ranking numbers I announce will go on stage to compete. Xian Stage, 11,810, Zhang Han. 12,007, Bai Mingyuan. Kuan Stage, 11,642, Lu Haiyu. 12050, Jiang Deyuan. Xun Stage. A referee in charge of the competition began reading out the name list. Everyone had their own corresponding ranking number. Those who ranked towards the back would compete in the 8 small stages. The 8 smaller stages were placed according to the Bagua trigrams. They were called Shen, Koan, Jin, Sun, Ken, Li, Zhen, and Dui. Those who ranked farther ahead would be in the central stage. This stage's name was the Divine Wilderness Stage. The Divine Wilderness Stage was not a place ordinary people had the opportunity to enter. Divine Wilderness Stage, 10,003, Iyun. 10,750, Feng Hai. The boisterous voice of the referee resounded through the arena.
Oh? It's already my turn? Iyun was surprised. He thought he would have to wait a little longer before it would be his turn. He did not expect that his name would be called the moment he entered the arena. It was understandable though, since so many people wanted to challenge him. He had to fight 12 matches a day. The referees must have taken this into consideration to let him begin early, so that his battles could be spread out. By extending the time between his battles, he could regain some stamina. Ha ha! It's already my turn.
A tall youth excitedly jumped up from the Hongdao Association side. He was one of the 4 bully lords and his name was Feng Hai. He too did not expect that he would be the first to go on stage. Furthermore, it was on the central Divine Wilderness stage.
It was cool. Iyun and Feng Hai's match no doubt attracted the attention of the entire audience. Chapter 216, That One Brick's Elegant Appearance. Iyun was now a celebrity. If one were to say the leading actors were Chu Xiaoran and Xiaoniu, then Iyun would be the most important supporting actor.
Iyun's tag team battle with the Hongdao Association had attracted the attention of numerous people.
Many wanted to see how far Iyun would last.
Others were sure that Iyun would be defeated by Feng Hai in the first round.
The 4 bully lords were not simple people.
To achieve a prominent name in the capital was something that could not be gained just from their background or wealth. Feng Hai himself was ranked 10,750. In front of him, there were several veteran cultivators who failed to enter the top 10,000.
Excluding them, Feng Hai was ranked around 300 amongst the rookies. This ranking was quite outstanding.
In the audience, there was a young girl in green clothes.
She curiously looked at Iyun, so that's Iyun. This girl in green was small in size, and she had a cute image.
She was the young daughter of the current defender Duke of the Tai royal family, Chu Xiaoran. Beside Chu Xiaoran, there was a 1.9 meter tall youth. He was wearing crystal armor and his eyebrows were shaved. Most of his hair was shaved off, leaving an inch of hair in the middle of his head. This remaining hair was extremely long, reaching all the way to his back. This youth had his arms crossed across his chest. His legs were spread apart as he sat on the stone bench like he was in a horse riding stance. His back was straight and he looked majestic. This man looked like an 18 to 19-year-old youth, but he was actually 13 years old.
He was Xiaoniu. Xiaoniu smiled and said, "This kid is interesting. You might not know this, but he came from the Cloud Wilderness. He comes from a poor background, so to have his current achievements, it is extremely difficult. I have a premonition that Iyun isn't dangerous right now, but he's a diamond in the rough. In the future, he might pose a threat to you and me."
Oh? Chu Xiaoran flashed an odd look in her eyes.
In the future, he will compete for the number 1 rank of the Heaven Roll of Honor with us? Possibly. Xiaoniu nodded.
Be it Xiaoniu or Chu Xiaoran, both of them had goals to be first on the Heaven or Earth rolls in the future. When Qin Haotian and his batch left the Tai Divine City after training in the Tai Divine City for 5 years, it would not be difficult for Qin Haotian and Chu Xiaoran to be ranked at the top. What was difficult was for them to complete this goal within 5 years.
"Xiaoran, I want this rookie first place's glory point. Don't fight with me over it." Xiaoniu licked his lips as he said to Chu Xiaoran.
Chu Xiaoran laughed, "That depends if you have the ability."
"We haven't competed in a long while." Xiaoniu and Chu Xiaoran knew each other from a long time ago, and they were friends.
Both of them had their own advantages, and neither wanted to concede to the other.
Yi Yun, quickly come up to the stage to receive your judgment. When the law enforcer announced his name, Feng Hai couldn't wait to jump up onto the Divine Wilderness stage.
With a large broad saber in hand, he was filled with fighting spirit.
I want to be outstanding today,
Feng Hai shouted out in his heart. He felt that his awesome life was starting today. And Yi Yun would be his first sharpening stone ever since he entered the Taia Divine City, if Yi Yun was worthy.
Yi Yun leisurely walked up the stage.
With the 1,000 Army saber behind his back like a flagpole, he looked a little odd.
Ha, you use a saber too, and you are shorter than your saber.
Feng Hai was the tall one among the lofty, shorty, fatty and scrawny combination.
Hence, he was proud of his height. Unsheath your saber.
Since all of us are using a saber, I'll let you know today what it means to have a saber.
Feng Hai's saber was very different from Yi Yun's. Yi Yun had a long saber and its attack method was similar to that of a sword.
It was noted for its speed and sharpness.
But Feng Hai's thick-back saber was good at direct attacks.
They were two completely different types of weapons.
Unsheath my saber? Yi Yun glanced at Feng Hai.
There was no need to use the 1,000 Army saber against Feng Hai because it was not easy to use.
The Taia Divine City had instituted the rule that if anyone were to deliberately kill another in the competition, they were to be sentenced to death. Accidentally killing another meant imprisonment.
The Hongdao Association planned to use a tag team battle to cause Yi Yun to become bedridden for a few months, but they did not dare to harm Yi Yun's life. If Yi Yun were to use the 1,000 Army saber with his radiant Sun Shi, the Divine Wilderness stage, that was made with purple tungsten, could easily be sliced off. Such power might accidentally cause the death of Feng Hai. Even without the radiant Sun Shi, Yi Yun felt that the 1,000 Army saber could easily destroy Feng Hai's defenses. The 1,000 Army saber's blade length was enough to split a horse, and since they had a gap in their strength, he had to control his blade all the time, so it was pointless. And the 1,000 Army saber had edges on both sides. Even if he used the saber's spine to attack, Feng Hai might not be able to take it. So it was better if he did not use it at all. Yi Yun shook his head calmly. He recalled the phrase commonly seen in the legendary novels from his past life. As such, he slowly said to Feng Hai, "My saber is not easily drawn, but once it unsheathes, it sees blood."
When he said this, everyone present was shocked.
It took a while before the people could recompose themselves and they understood what Yi Yun meant. He felt that Feng Hai was not worthy of him drawing his weapon.
Was this guy sound in his mind? Did he not know how many people behind him were eyeing him?
Every one of them were stronger than the other. Feng Hai was originally stunned by Yi Yun's words, then he became furious.
He wanted to dice up Yi Yun, who belittled him. But a second later, he was no longer angry. There was no reason to be angry over a fool.
When faced with a tag team battle, even those confident in their strength would gear themselves up. However, Yi Yun was nonchalant about it, as if it had nothing to do with him.
He even dared to boast that he wouldn't draw his saber? This clearly meant he was crazy.
The people from the Hongdao Association looked at Yi Yun for a while before roaring into laughter. They all felt that Yi Yun was some fearless idiot.
It was no wonder he was so calm.
As the saying goes, the wise worries, but the fools are fearless.
Don't get me wrong.
I may not draw my saber, but I'll still choose a weapon.
Yi Yun waved his hand.
The 1,000 Army saber was not easy to use, for he might accidentally cause serious harm to Feng Hai. This would lead to trouble for himself. But it did not feel right without a weapon. The power of the fist had a disadvantage. It was not that Yi Yun could not deal with Feng Hai, but there were too many people behind him.
It would be too tiring to use his fists. He might even end up with a bruised fist. If he could save some energy, why not do so? Because of this battle, Yi Yun had already taken off his flowing mercury gown and was ready in light gear. Yi Yun walked to the edge of the stage in a composed manner.
Everyone was looking at him, wondering what Yi Yun would be up to next.
There were 18 weapons around the ring. Do you want to choose from the weapons here? The referee asked.
These weapons were placed by the side of the stage for the cultivators to use.
Yes.
Yi Yun scanned the various sabers, spears, swords, and halberds.
He could not use any of these.
Yi Yun decided on using a blunt weapon. It was easy to hold and there was no fear that he would accidentally kill someone with it.
Well, this seems good. What is this?
Yi Yun picked up a rectangular piece of metal from the weapon rack. It was about a foot long, and as wide as an adult's palm.
Oh, you can't use this.
The referee shook his head.
This is a magical weapon. Its name is the Heaven Upheaval Seal.
A typical Yuan Foundation realm warrior can use his body's Yuan Qi to steer this weapon to kill. Besides that, the Heaven Upheaval Seal has an exquisite array technique within it. If you do not know it, the power of the Heaven Upheaval Seal would be greatly reduced. No one expected Yi Yun to know the array technique.
As for him reaching the Yuan Foundation realm, it was impossible. Naturally, he couldn't bring out the power of the Heaven Upheaval Seal.
I see, Yi Yun heard the referee speaking, but none of it really entered his ears. What Heaven Upheaval Seal, after giving all that nonsensical explanations and giving it such an awesome name, to put it bluntly, it was just a piece of brick.
What steering it to kill?
All it needed to do was to hit someone in the head. Yi Yun held the Heaven Upheaval Seal and weighed it in his hand. The size was the same as a brick and he could easily hold it in his hands. Back when Yi Yun was studying, he had fought with others before. With the brick in hand, Yi Yun seemed to recall the feelings of those yesteryears.
You really want to use the Heaven Upheaval Seal?
The referee looked at Yi Yun as he carried the Heaven Upheaval Seal up on stage. He could not understand it as he had just explained it very clearly. Yet, Yi Yun did not heed his advice.
What was he doing?
Right, I'll use this.
Yi Yun carried the brick and walked calmly up on stage.
The Hongdao Association were all laughing with their backs hunched over as they saw Yi Yun as a clown.
Was he really here to compete and not here to play the fool?
To face such a person with abnormal intelligence, one could not view him as a normal person. At this time, not only the Hongdao Association, even Zhou Kuei, Song Zijuan and company who were extremely confident of Yi Yun were shocked.
They did not know what to say. How could Yi Yun know any array technique? He definitely could not use this Heaven Upheaval Seal. Can we begin? The arena's referee was very cultured. Even with such a weird scene happening, he only gave Yi Yun an odd look. After that, he did not say more, and focused on the competition.
Oh, right. I have something. Yi Yun sure had lots of things. I heard that the Hongdao Association had opened up a betting pool. I have previously bought 5,000 dragon scale runes that I would be able to last beyond 20 matches.
I wonder if they can pay up or not.
The highest payout ratio for Yi Yun completing 20 matches was at 110. But the Taya Divine City did not encourage people to gain resources from luck such as gambling. As such, there was a 40% tax. Also, there was a 5,000 dragon scale runes bet limit. Of course, Yi Yun placed the maximum bet. If he could win, he would receive 50,000 dragon scale runes and he would have to pay 20,000 in tax. But what was most important was that the Hongdao Association needed to have the ability to pay up. In fact, 50,000 dragon scale runes was a large sum even for an association like the Hongdao Association. After all, Li Hong was just a second-year soldier.
Ha 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 ha. Feng Hai nearly cried out laughing. 20 matches and above?
He had always thought that Yi Yun had some ability. But now, Yi Yun played out various humorous performances and he wanted to win more than 20 matches. He sure had a lofty dream. The other Hongdao Association members convulsed with laughter.
This guy must be some comedian invited by some ancient monkey spirit.
He came here to give them dragon scale runes and he made them laugh out loud. They were really blissful to meet such a great person.
Yes, we can begin.
Iyun nodded his head, and the referee declared the start of the match.
Everyone's eyes were on the Divine Wilderness stage.
They wanted to see how this wonderful match would lead on. At this time, Feng Hai stopped laughing. Laughing was one thing, but when it came to a competition, Feng Hai would still focus. He had bet 1,000 dragon scale runes and an interspatial ring for this match. Li Hong had repeatedly ordered them not to underestimate Iyun, so that they wouldn't fail at an easy task. Although now it was clear that Iyun was likely a retard, he still wanted to abuse this retard. Feng Hai opened up his posture and he began moving at a great pace on the purple tungsten stage. People saw Feng Hai's body blurred and heard a series of footstep sounds, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Feng Hai was as fast as lightning, and at the same thing he began waving his saber. The golden saber slashed out a sharp saber chi that cut through the air, emitting an ear-piercing sound. It's the Feng family's bell-tone steps and golden wind saber.
Someone in the stands said.
Many of the cultivators did not have sufficient dragon scale runes to exchange for a cultivation technique, so most of them used their own family's cultivation technique. Some family clans had high-quality techniques that were passed down generation to generation. Taking the Feng family as an example, as one of the capital's large family clans, the Bell-Tone Steps and the Golden Wind Saber were the cornerstone skills of their family clan. Although Feng Hai could only show a tiny charm of them, it was still impressive. Being praised by many of the elites around him, Feng Hai's vanity was greatly inflated. He was just a 13-year-old, an age which needed the most recognition. Immediately, Feng Hai felt extremely pleased about being the star of the stage. He was no longer in a hurry to attack Iyun. Instead, he began to demonstrate his bell-tone steps and golden wind saber. Saber has no fear, royalty among weapons, bell-tones are silent, travels 1,000 miles. Feng Hai began reciting the poetry created for the bell-tone steps and golden wind saber by the previous head of the Feng household that was used before killing an enemy. He charged valiantly and spiritedly towards Iyun.
Feng family's saber technique's first move, Golden Wind Jade Do.
Feng Hai slashed downwards. This slash was accompanied by numerous golden winds, which was the reason for the move's pretty name. At that moment, the turbulent winds and countless number of saber flashes trapped Iyun within.
Sha! Sha! Sha!
With the golden flashes, the surface of the purple tungsten metal momentarily became filled with marks. But at this moment, Iyun's figure moved.
He demonstrated his large success stage of minute subtlety.
It was as if he was one with the surrounding environment. The golden wind saber's flashes were avoided by him by an iota.
Feng Hai's saber was extremely fast.
After all, it was the Feng family's heirloom saber technique. Once it was used, the saber flashes were complex and appeared in a haphazard manner. To avoid it, one had to calculate the trajectories of all the flashes, making use of every single space.
But Iyun still managed to step into the saber vortex.
Even though the saber was sharp, it could not hurt him at all.
The surrounding audience were all elites.
Their eyes were sharp and could clearly see Iyun's movement in the flurry of saber flashes.
What? He actually avoided that. Iyun's speed was too fast.
He could meander through the thick saber flashes. This movement technique was horrifying.
Suddenly, Iyun's figure disappeared. Ha! Feng Hai shivered as his pupils contracted.
When Iyun avoided his first wave of saber attacks, he began to be on high alert. But now seeing Iyun suddenly disappear, Feng Hai immediately used his bell-tone steps to retreat without any thought.
He wanted to distance himself to plan ahead.
But at the same moment, as he jumped backwards, he felt a rush of killing intent behind him.
Iyun had already moved behind Feng Hai.
This scene shocked the entire audience.
How could that be? The people did not have the opportunity to be alarmed.
All they saw was Iyun raising his hand, smashing the brick. No, it should be the heaven upheaval seal at the back of Feng Hai's head.
Get lost. Pang.
With a crisp sound, it sounded like a polo ball being hit by a polo club. Feng Hai wanted to turn his head, but he felt the back of his head tremble.
It was like he was hit by a heavy hammer. With that, he felt the world spin around him.
He turned dizzy and began to see stars.
Feng Hai's body, which was originally retreating, had been stopped by Yi Yun's brick attack.
Feng Hai came close to crashing on the ground. He barely supported his body with the golden saber. He felt that the back of his head was sticky. He was clearly bleeding.
What? What the hell?
Feng Hai had been beaten to the point where his mental processes slowed down.
He could not react to many things as his body wavered.
He turned his head with great difficulty to see how Yi Yun had attacked him. But his vision turned blurry.
Yi Yun's figure was like a hazy patch.
Oh. Pretty strong. Yi Yun hesitated and he was slightly surprised. Following that, he lifted the brick without hesitation and slammed downwards.
This brick hit the forehead of Feng Hai. Pang!
The sound of a ripe melon being knocked came out, crisp and clear.
Feng Hai, who had not gotten the opportunity to see Yi Yun clearly, felt his vision go black.
His body was like a noodle that had slipped off a pair of chopsticks, losing the support of his bones.
After some twisted struggle, he went completely limp on the ground.
He foamed at his mouth as his limbs twitched.
Feng Hai's blood from his head splashed out, quickly forming a pool.
When the people saw this, they turned silly. Yi Yun actually used the heaven upheaval seal as a brick and beat Feng Hai, who was using the bell-tone steps and golden wind saber, into the ground with 2 strikes.
Those flashy moves lost to a brick.
The great Feng Hai, one of the capital's 4 bully lords, had been defeated by Yi Yun.
This was unbearable to watch.
As for the Hongdao Association members, especially the other 3 from the 4 bully lords, their mouths were agape. Their eyes were straight as they petrified.
They could not say a word.
They had just been shaking with laughing, but now, they couldn't even cry.
What? What the hell? Chapter 217. No matter how good your martial arts were, you would be put down with a brick.
The people from the Hongdao Association were stunned for a long time. It wasn't until Feng Hai bled a huge pool on the stage that the 3 people from the 4 bully lords reacted.
Brother Hai. Second brother.
The 3 of them rushed up and saw that their brother had been beaten up badly. The 3 bully lords lifted Feng Hai up, and all they saw was a huge bump on Feng Hai's forehead and another huge bump on the back of his head. The 2 bumps protruded out greatly. If one were to look at them from the side, it would look like a bear with 2 little ears. This look made people at a loss of whether to laugh or cry.
Brother Hai. Brother Hai. The 4 bully lords shook Feng Hai.
All of them stared with all their might. They could not believe that Feng Hai's and Yi Yun's battle could have such a result.
Actually, all the elites present could not believe it. This was not going according to script. Feng Hai had clearly used an awesome move, and it was demonstrated beautifully. It was after all the secret technique of the capital's Feng family. How bad could it be? The blade beam, the aura, the movement, the force wind, was impeccable.
Everyone thought Feng Hai was about to flaunt his skills. But, at this moment, how did he get taken down by Yi Yun's 1 brick? No matter how it was analyzed, Yi Yun's brick was nothing special.
The attack was direct and there was no fancy cultivation technique.
In fact, there was no technique involved, but the result was ridiculous. It was like a martial arts guru from a martial family clan demonstrated a beautiful set of Tai Chi fist in an upscale dojo. While he was planning to befriend others through martial arts and meet all the heroes of the world, a ruffian on the street rushed forward and beat up the guru with a brick.
This was an eye-popping experience. Many family clan descendants could not accept it. Was Feng Hai careless? Yi Yun used the heaven upheaval seal as a brick, and he didn't avoid.
Hongdao Association tried to find excuses for Feng Hai because they could not accept the result.
The battle had ended too quickly. It was too dramatic.
They rather believed that this battle was just an outlier.
Many of them had bet heavily against Yi Yun.
Amongst them, the least amount that people bet on was 800 to 900 dragon scale runes.
There were even more people who took out their family possessions such as elixirs, relics, interspatial rings, etc. They were really betting all their assets.
Of course, they did not believe that Yi Yun was stronger than them. But, on another side, Xiongnu rubbed his chin and looked meaningfully at Yi Yun. This Yi Yun is quite strong.
I underestimated him just now.
Yes. Beside Xiongnu, Xu Xiaoran nodded slightly. Although Feng Hai took Yi Yun lightly, even if he had put in his all, he would definitely not be Yi Yun's match.
Yi Yun is very strong. This kid is interesting. Xiongnu's eyes flashed.
He liked to spar with experts. Yi Yun was already able to arouse his interest.
Divine Wilderness stage, Yi Yun vs Feng Hai, Yi Yun wins.
At this moment, the referee declared the end of the match.
Yi Yun kept the brick and wobbled down the stage. As he was returning to the audience stands, Yi Yun turned around and said, "Referee, I'll be borrowing this brick." Yi Yun did this while he bade farewell. When the referee heard this, he was speechless. He coughed twice and said, "This weapon is called the Heaven Upheaval Seal."
Right, it's more or less the same. I find this weapon quite handy.
Thanks,
Yi Yun said in a casual tone.
His words made many people roll their eyes.
Even the expressionless referee could not help but twitch his lips a few times upon hearing it.
What the heck?
How could this Heaven Upheaval Seal that was painstakingly produced be used in this manner? If the person who produced the Heaven Upheaval Seal knew that his own produced weapon was being praised in such a manner, it was a wonder what he would think.
As such, Yi Yun returned to his seat. Zhou Kuei and Song Zijun looked at Yi Yun as if he was a monster. He was basically a humanoid primordial species.
It was unknown what herbs he ate growing up that allowed him to use the Heaven Upheaval Seal as a brick to knock Feng Hai unconscious. Yi Yun placed the brick with a domineering aura on the stone table in front of him. The surface of the brick even had blood.
It was terrifying.
This really was. No matter how good your martial arts were, you would be put down with a brick. Whatever so-called Beltone steps and golden wind saber simply did not work in front of the brick.
Yi Yun began to meditate to rest his mind.
The rookie ranking competition carried on in the arena. With this, the Hongdao Association people became more down-to-earth.
They no longer shouted.
Besides occasionally going on stage to compete, they shriveled up the rest of the time. With a brick over their heads that could fall down any time, how could they laugh?
F***K, we need to avenge Brother Hai.
Feng Hai had eaten some medicine for his injuries, but due to the 2 brick hits, he was still unconscious. This setback did not only cause physical harm to Feng Hai, but was largely a dent on his psyche.
Feng Hai originally seemed unstoppable.
Just as he was demonstrating his family's secret skills to appear outstanding, and just as he had reached the pinnacle of his life, Yi Yun's 2 blows changed everything.
It was definitely not a good feeling. Be careful, this kid is a bit odd, the eldest amongst the 4 bully lords said.
The next person to battle with Yi Yun was also one of the 4 bully lords. They absolutely could not repeat the same mistakes. If they did, they would totally lose face as the 4 bully lords.
4th brother, you are up next.
Make sure to brighten up your eyes.
Watch your back.
If you were to be defeated by him, we, the 4 bully lords, will become a joke in the capital. We won't have the face to mix in the capital's circles anymore.
I got it big, bro.
The thin monkey in the 4 bully lords patted his chest as a guarantee.
Big bro, I don't dare to say about anything else, but you know me. My speed is the fastest amongst us 4. My eyes are also the sharpest. It would be good if I didn't sneakily attack others, for others to sneakily attack me? Impossible.
The thin monkey was very confident. His moves were extremely dexterous.
And his family had a top movement skill.
Scrawny had great talent in movement skills, so having learned this movement skill for many years, he had perfected the first 3 levels. Many people who even outpaced Scrawny in cultivation level could not attack him.
As a result, Fatty felt relieved that Scrawny was up next. He could see that it was not realistic that Scrawny could screw up Yun, but it was no matter. With Scrawny's movement skills, he could remain unbeaten for a long time, and that would be enough. After all, they were doing a tag team battle. By consuming Yun's strength, when he and Shorty went up on stage, they could certainly finish Yun.
After Yun finished his match, he had a break for nearly an hour. During this period, Yun also watched the matches amongst the rookies, but there was nothing much to see. Before he learned the Taya Sacred technique, these people's cultivation technique would probably light up Yun's eyes. But now, with the Taya Sacred technique, these cultivation techniques looked very common and Yun was no longer impressed.
The matches went one after another.
The rookie rankings also constantly changed.
Some rookies were outstanding in the arena. They left the stage smiling. Others lost badly in the arena. Because they did not live up to their own expectations, they were greatly set back. This was something all the Taya Divine City's cultivators had to go through. The martial arts way had its gains and losses. Sometimes, the rewards from a mystic realm might make you overjoyed for 100 years, but there were times where a disaster could break all your limbs, and might even cripple all your martial arts. One had to be able to take on great joy and sufferings when practicing martial arts. In contrast, the loss in the rookie ranking competition was just the first step. Yun originally wanted to see Chu Xiaoran and Xiaonyo's battle, but none of them ever went up. Upon further thought, Yun realized that no one dared to mess with them as they were strong. No one would give dragon scale runes to others and get beaten up at the same time. Only someone extremely wealthy like himself who was ranked 3rd and looked extremely weak would attract so much hate that they wanted to take a bite off him. "Kid, did you recently break through again?" At this time, Baldy Chin walked over to Yun. He slapped Yun on the back. When Baldy Chin saw Yun's previous battle, he could feel that Yun's improvement was not just by a tiny amount. Yun stood up and smiled, saying, "Instructor Chin, indeed I have grown stronger recently." After Yun learned the Taya Sacred technique, even if he didn't use his Radiant Sun Shi, his strength was no longer the same as before. This was because Yun's Yuan Qi accumulation and pureness had made great progress. Baldy Chin could only vaguely feel it, but he could not tell with absolute confidence. Although Baldy Chin had opened his Heaven's Eye, there were different grades to Heaven's Eyes. For example, the Taya Divine City's elder, Jin Gu, could clearly see through Yun with a glance. Except for the purple crystal, he could see everything. As for Baldy Chin, he clearly did not have that ability. Baldy Chin lifted up the brick on the stone table in front of Yun and flipped it around, looking at it. "Good brick. Solid enough. Heavy enough. I think so too." Yun grinned. Yun had a good impression of Baldy Chin. Although Baldy Chin had not deliberately taken care of him, he had fulfilled 100% of his duty as instructor and had given him plenty of advice. At this time, the referee announced, Divine Wilderness Stage, 10,003, Yun. 10,708, Sun Yuan. Come on stage for the match. It was Yun's turn again. And his opponent was again from the capitals for Bully Lords, scrawny Sun Yuan. Sun Yuan had pointed ears and monkey cheeks, he was ugly. His weapon was special, a pair of nunchucks. Sun Yuan made a weird call and jumped on stage. Yun, quickly come up, it's time to fight. Chapter 218, Devastation of Sun Yuan. Sun Yuan aggressively shouted at Yun from the Divine Wilderness stage. Yun stood up and lifted the brick from the table. The surrounding elite's eyelids twitched when they saw this. Yi-Yun was carrying the brick up on stage again. Yi-Yun's brick blow had previously knocked Feng Hai from behind, now he was planning on knocking down Sun Yuan? Sun Yuan was now prepared against it, so how could he be knocked down? This Yi-Yun sure is arrogant. He may be strong, but he shouldn't underestimate the enemy. He may have been alright using the brick while facing Feng Hai, but now against Sun Yuan, the other party is already prepared, yet he still uses the brick. This brick may be a bit hard, but it's not a decent weapon. He should draw out his saber. Underestimating the enemy is a sure recipe for failing miserably at an easy task. Is Yi-Yun following in the footsteps of Feng Hai? People began discussing, and at this moment, Yi-Yun had already carried the brick up onto the Divine Wilderness stage. Sun Yuan looked at Yi-Yun and saw the brick in Yi-Yun's hand. He grinned, saying, "You want to use the same move on me twice? Naive." As Sun Yuan said those words, his 2 feet had begun slowly moving. Sun Yuan's pace was odd. It looked slow, but when he moved, it was hard to see his legs, as if there was a spacetime disturbance. After Sun Yuan moved a few steps, there were shadows behind his body. These shadows lingered on for a long time and they made it harder to distinguish which was the real Sun Yuan. Step after step, the number of Sun Yuan's afterimages grew. The people were awed when they saw this. It was the Sun family's after-image paces. By using special paces to move, an opponent would not be able to tell which was the true body of the person demonstrating the after-image paces. At the same time, each step was injected with Yuan Qi and each afterimage was formed from Yuan Qi. As a result, they looked extremely real. If one couldn't find the opponent's position, how was one to attack? Similarly, if one did not know the opponent's position, one would not know where the attacks would come from. It would be easy to be sneakily attacked by Sun Yuan. The after-image paces was the core of the Sun family's heritage. Sun Yuan had used his outstanding talent in the after-image paces to become one of the members of the capital's 4 bully lords. As long as the after-image paces was not seen through, Sun Yuan would be invincible. More and more afterimages surrounded Yi-Yun. Each afterimage could be the real body and they could attack Yi-Yun any time. All the elites present were not weak. They were watching from a distance and even seeing Sun Yuan's after-image paces as a whole. A large number of them could not tell which was Sun Yuan's real body. I actually can't tell which body is the real one among all these images made from the after-image paces. As expected of the secret techniques of the Sun family. How is Yi-Yun going to attack? Many people began praising it. The 4 bully lords Fatty saw that Sun Yuan was slowly gaining control of the situation and he began smiling. Sun Yuan's skill was the basis of his strength. This move perfectly countered Yi-Yun. If a sword-bearing or saber-bearing warrior was unable to see Sun Yuan's position, they could just send out an outpour of blade beams, attacking indiscriminately. If so, no matter how exquisite Sun Yuan's after-image paces was, he would struggle to cope with it. It would be easy to be slashed by the blade beams, which revealed the flaws of the technique. But Yi-Yun only had a brick. His 1,000 army saber was placed offstage. A brick could not send off an outpour of attacks. Who asked you to be careless? Underestimating the enemy would lead to this outcome. At this moment, in the middle of the stage, Yi-Yun was still holding his brick and standing casually. Actually, Yi-Yun was feeling quite speechless. This Sun Yuan sure was not done with his tricks. Yi-Yun had already formed the Heaven's Eyeball. A sweep of the Heaven's Eye and Sun Yuan's real body would not escape him. Even without the formed Heaven's Eyeball, Yi-Yun could just open up the purple crystal's vision to see Sun Yuan's jumping like a monkey. The target was too obvious. Yi-Yun had practically 100 different ways to find Sun Yuan. To think that he said the same move could not be used on him twice. Did he think he was a saint warrior? At this moment, Sun Yuan's afterimages came within 9 meters of Yi-Yun. To warriors, it was no different from being in contact.
Initiating an attack was a matter that took a split moment.
Good. Before Bully Lord Fatty's eyes lit up.
Being surrounded by Sun Yuan's afterimages and real body at a 9-meter radius, the other party had already lost. Fatty did not expect that Sun Yuan could deal with Yun. It now appeared that Sun Yuan could win.
Attack! Sun Yuan made his move. He suddenly attacked while behind Yun.
The 9 meters distance disappeared in an instant. Sun Yuan drew out a thin soft sword hidden within his sleeve. The sword's edge was soft and could not be easily seen when immersed in the air. This sharp soft sword was like a venomous snake coming out of its hole. It struck Yun's back, and at the same time, with a raise of Sun Yuan's hand, he shot out a series of stealth weapons. These stealth weapons were not obvious, they were easy to miss flying needles.
The Sun family's flying needles were also very famous.
These flying needles, when sent out amidst blade beams, would be protected by the blade beams.
A typical opponent would find it difficult to spot them, let alone avoid them. Even if the opponent was not confused by the afterimage paces, reacted in a timely manner and could parry the blade beam, the opponent would not be able to avoid the flying needles.
This series of moves could be said to be despicable. Taking Feng Hai's failure as a lesson, Sun Yuan had used all his best moves and had played them out to the extreme. The afterimage paces approached Yun. With the soft sword and concealed weapons combination, Sun Yuan did not believe he could lose. This could only be blamed on the arrogance of this kid Yun.
Did he think he could use a brick to win?
Without any concern, Sun Yuan stabbed towards Yun's heart.
A row of concealed weapons also pierced through the body. Hit! Cha! The soft sword penetrated the body.
But Sun Yuan's expression suddenly changed.
This stab did not have the feeling of entering a body's Yuan Qi protection.
There was no resistance, as if he had stabbed nothing. At this moment, Yun's figure suddenly blurred.
Afterimage!
Sun Yuan was greatly surprised. The Yun he stabbed was also an afterimage. The afterimage paces was mystic technique that combined Yuan Qi and fluctuating paces to form afterimages. Of course, Yun did not know the afterimage paces, but with absolute speed, Yun could also create a very short-lived afterimage.
This was because the original image would continue to appear in one's vision for a split second, which was also the reason for this afterimage phenomenon.
Without opening Heaven's Eye, this afterimage left in one's eyes could not be removed. It was this short afterimage in Sun Yuan's eyes that caused him to stab into empty space.
Sun Yuan immediately knew it was not going well. He urgently backed away, but at this moment, he heard wind behind his head. A strong ominous feeling rose up in his mind. Sun Yuan felt his scalp tingle while his hair stood on end on the back of his neck. He tried hard to redeem the situation, but it was too late. Dawn! A clear and crisp sound rang. Yun had struck Sun Yuan's head with the brick. Sun Yuan felt his body tremble and an intense pain from the back of his head. His vision turned black and he immediately felt dizzy. Fu. F***K. Sun Yuan angrily wailed in his mind. He used all his strength to open his eyes and support his body, but it was all futile, it only increased his pain. Yun was surprised when he noticed that he could not finish Sun Yuan off with one brick. These four bully lords sure were resilient. They must have been out and about in the past. As such, Yun patted Sun Yuan's shoulders and earnestly said, "I say, you were jumping around like a monkey just now. When in battle, what's the point with all those fancy tricks? It's best to fight steadily." While saying that, Yun silently raised the brick. Sun Yuan's mouth twitched as he wanted to say something, but he had no chance. When he seemed to make the sound of a syllable with great difficulty, Yun's second brick blow came smashing down, hitting him in the exact same spot as the first brick. Dawn! Another crisp sound rang. The same attack had been repeated twice. Sun Yuan was like a nail that was being struck by a hammer.
His body shuddered and his eyes rolled. As if his bones had been siphoned off, he landed on the ground with a thud. No one knew what Sun Yuan's last thoughts were.
Yet another one was settled. With the brick in hand, Yi Yun loosened his wrists. It was as if he just killed a dog. The audience turned silent upon seeing this.
Sun Yuan had used his Sun family's secret technique, the after-image paces, forming 36 split bodies. His move was so fancy and dazzling. But the result was being destroyed by a brick. Yi Yun had come up twice, struck the brick twice to destroy 2 people.
It should be 4 brick blows, but that doesn't matter. Is this a F*** king duel between experts?
No one that came to the Tai Divine City was not an elite.
Their duel should be filled with blade beams and heaven-moving auras. What's the matter with you, using 2 brick blows to put down 2 people?
At this moment, on the Divine Wilderness stage, Yi Yun crouched down and placed the brick to the side.
He grabbed Sun Yuan's hand and took off Sun Yuan's interspatial ring.
After all, this thing had been part of the bet. It was going to be his sooner or later, so why not take it earlier?
Thanks,
Yi Yun said with a very provocative tone, but of course, Sun Yuan could no longer hear it.
Seeing this scene, the 4 bully lords fatty, outside the arena, was completely livid.
The fat on his face was constantly twitching. Scrawny had also been knocked out. His interspatial ring had been taken and he had lost 1,000 dragon scale runes. Together with the previous match, the 4 bully lords had lost 2,000 dragon scale runes and 2 interspatial rings. He could already imagine the future, while on the streets of the capital, when he was introduced by others, someone would say, "Oh,
you are the eldest of the 4 bully lords. I've long since heard about you. 2 of your brothers got crushed by a Cloud Wilderness bumpkin with a brick. And you even gave all of your assets to him. I've heard of your famous name for a long time now. To meet you today is a pleasure. Nice to meet you."
Upon thinking of this, Fatty's face distorted completely. If this carried on, how were they to be called the 4 bully lords? They might as well change their name to the 4 bastards.
Chapter 219, Bro, you are too naive. Big bro.
The 4 bully lords Shorty spoke to Fatty without any confidence. Next up, will be me, I don't have any confidence. Shorty's strength was pretty much the same as Sun Yuan.
Feng Hai's defeat by Yi Yun could be due to him underestimating Yi Yun.
But Sun Yuan had done his best, yet, he too had been bricked down by Yi Yun.
This was due to the absolute difference in strength.
No matter how reluctant Shorty was in accepting the situation, he had no choice but to admit this fact.
Yi Yun was stronger than him. Fatty stayed silent.
He had nothing more to say.
What do we do now? All their assets had been bet. If they did not fight, were they just going to throw in the towel?
After the 4 bully lords, there were still a lot of people from the Hongdao Association. They all had ugly expressions on their faces.
Many of them had submitted their application to compete with Yi Yun.
They had even handed in their bets. It could no longer be changed. For this, they were regretting it to the point where their intestines turned green. If they had known that Yi Yun was so formidable, they would have rather died than mess with him.
Even if Yi Yun's strength was immense, that was all right.
But his weapon was a brick.
Fighting with him meant one would be knocked out with a brick.
To warriors, it was all right to lose a match.
As long as they did not lose their dignity, they would reluctantly accept it.
But to be bricked down by a brick, that would be too embarrassing.
Yi Yun carried the heaven upheaval seal down from the stage. He had 12 matches the first day.
He had to fight a match almost every hour. In a day, he had to fight from dawn to dusk for a total of 12 hours. After his second match, Yi Yun could feel that the gaze the surrounding people gave him was one of awe. In the Tai Divine City, as long as you were strong, you would be respected even if you came from a humble background. Yun meditated for some time before his third match began. His opponent was Shorty from the Four Bully Lords. When Yun went up on stage again, Shorty lost a large portion of his morale when he saw Yun holding the bloody brick in hand. Before the match began, Shorty abruptly said, "Wait. I have something to say." "Oh? What is it?" Yun looked at Shorty with some surprise. Shorty gulped down a mouthful of saliva and said, Can you change your weapon?" "Change? Why?" Yun looked at Shorty with a puzzled glance. Shorty stayed silent. What he meant was that he did not want to be defeated by a brick. It would be too embarrassing, but yet he couldn't say that. After all, one wouldn't expect him to say, "I don't want to be knocked down by a brick. Please change to another weapon to knock me down with." This would simply mean that he was conceding in advance, before the fight even started. Now, if he returned to the capital, that would be equally shameful. Others would say Lofty and Scrawny of the Four Bully Lords got knocked down by a brick. But later, Shorty did not want to be knocked down by a brick, so he pleaded for Yun to change to another weapon to knock him down with. Eventually Yun agreed, and as a result, Shorty was also knocked down. Upon thinking of this, Shorty felt extremely aggrieved. But Yun shook his head, saying, "I'm not changing. This heaven upheaval seal is very handy. Even if I were to change, I would change to a hammer or something. It would be almost the same." When Yun said that, Shorty felt his heart being trampled by 10,000 near-horned beasts with mud-stained hoofs. Could he not be so insulting? He was addicted to knocking people. Shorty became enraged. "I'll fight it out with you." Shorty drew out his curved blade and charged towards Yun. As he rushed forward, Shorty's body blurred. With a touch of his interspatial ring and a shout. Split body technique. With this shout, Shorty split into two bodies. What? Many people were shocked by this. His single body became two in a split second? Previously, when Scrawny used his after-image paces, his body turned into many bodies, but those were all after-images. After-images could not move, and could only be left in the irises of people, confusing a person's vision. But now, Shorty's split body technique had really divided his body into two. His doppelganger also rushed at Yun and attacked. Yun was also slightly stunned, but soon he figured it out. Ha! Shorty and his doppelganger jumped and attacked Yun from left and right. The two curved blades crossed. Split body cross slash. A gleaming blade beam shot out. But at this moment, Yun's moved, appearing in front of Shorty and his doppelganger. He raised the brick. Don! Don! Using a mysterious movement technique, Yun sent out two solid hits with the brick. Shorty had no way of dodging them. The two curved blades flew straight out, but Shorty and his doppelganger had been knocked down by Yun's two brick blows. Boom! Shorty slammed to the ground heavily while his doppelganger lost its ability to move and twisted into a pile. Only then did people realize that this was not really a split body. In martial arts, those who reached a high cultivation level could have a doppelganger, but Shorty was far from that level. His so-called doppelganger was actually a puppet. When Shorty threw out his puppet, he had injected the puppet with his Yuan Qi. Together with his own afterimage and fast speed, it created this doppelganger effect. But this method was nothing to Yun, who had formed Heaven's eyeball. He saw through it with a single glance. Shorty was defeated in the same way as the others, being knocked unconscious by Yun. Up to this point, no one had been able to escape the curse of Yun's brick. That brick, in the hands of Yun, was a terrifying weapon that would cause nightmares amongst the Hongdao Association's members. A brick on your head would result in a big bump, who wouldn't fear it? They could not imagine the feeling of watching helplessly as Yun knocked them down with his brick when it came to their turn. They could predict the result of the match. They had to stick out their heads, just to be knocked down by him.
What was more painful than this?
At this point, all the members from the Hongdao Association who had declared war on Yi Yun felt like they were sitting on pins and needles.
A youth suddenly gritted his teeth and said, "This kid must have practiced some special cultivation technique. We have all been fooled by him. He may look aloof, making others think he's weak. Actually, he is using a very domineering and powerful move.
And that move's carrier is the brick."
This youth's words enlightened many.
Everyone looked at each other and suddenly felt that the youth's words made sense. But there were others who were in doubt. It can't be. His original weapon was a long saber.
That long saber should be his weapon of choice, right?
Upon facing this question, the youth from before denied it. "Bro, you are too naive.
Don't be fooled by appearances. Has any of you seen Yi Yun fight with that long saber? Ever since he came to the Tai A Divine City, he has been picking herbs, all the time. Picking herbs. Picking more herbs. And still picking herbs.
He had never fought with us.
We don't even know what cultivation technique he practices. I am 70% sure that Yi Yun has picked up a secret mystic technique, and this secret technique is related to bricks.
In this world, there are sword skills, saber skills, and spear skills.
Why can't there be brick skills? Don't find it ridiculous.
Think about it carefully. There are all sorts of weird cultivation techniques in this world.
Having one of these cultivation techniques use a brick as the main weapon would be normal. This youth began to firmly believe in his own hypothesis. People began to feel enlightened. "Bro, you're right.
No wonder this guy was leisurely walking to the arena in the morning when I saw him. He knew many were waiting to challenge him, yet he was not worried at all. It was as if he was not involved in it.
His calmness was abnormal.
Right, when he went on stage, he was peaceful as a dove, with no stress at all. Previously, he even provoked us to increase the stakes of the battles.
Looks like he was confident early on. With his secret brick technique, he was not afraid of us. This Yi Yun is too cunning. People became more and more convinced, as if they had seen through Yi Yun's secret.
At the same time, the Hongdao Association's youths grew furious at Yi Yun's provocation for them to raise the stakes.
Now, they finally realized they had been cheated by Yi Yun into raising the stakes. This bastard. But the problem now was, even if they knew Yi Yun practiced a mystic technique and that his weapon was a brick, how were they going to crack it?
The difference in strength was too great. They would still be knocked down when they went on stage.
Brothers, we have to think of a way to control the brick in his hand. Do not be tricked by the brick's appearance.
It might look comical, but in Yi Yun's hand, it's the most feared weapon in the world.
Someone said the concluding remark. The other youths echoed, "Right.
We need to treat the brick as the sharpest saber, sword, or spear." Speaking of swordsmen, some swordsmen can have such superb swordplay that they can be one with the sword. The bodies of those swordsmen who can be one with the sword are equivalent to a sword.
And that sword is also their body. This Yi Yun, he might even have reached the stage of being one with the brick. Oh. Being one with the brick. So powerful. It can't be. The difficulty of being one with the brick can't be any less than being one with the sword. This realm can only be reached by extremely gifted people with excellent perceptivity. Hearing that Yi Yun could reach the stage of being one with the brick, the youths present turned livid. This nut was too tough to crack. They too had their own weapons, but none of them could be one with their weapons. I'm not being an alarmist, but I've seen warriors who were able to be one with the sword. Their moves looked simple. It was usually just one stab and they would defeat their opponent. On the surface, there was nothing fancy at all. Now Yi Yun is the same too. With the knock of a brick, it might look simple, but yet he could defeat his opponents. It's very similar to being one with the sword. It should be being one with the brick. Chapter 220, Throwing in the Towel.
The Hongdao Association's 13-year-old youths were all gathered together.
They were analyzing Yi Yun's moves and weaknesses.
Finally, they decided on a battle strategy. When a swordsman reaches the point of being one with the sword, he had a weakness. Once he loses the sword in his hand, his battle power would be greatly reduced. According to this reasoning, these youths believed Yi Yun was the same. As long as he lost the brick in his hand, his battle power would drop. As a result, their battle strategy was to first control the brick in Yi Yun's hand, then find an opportunity to hurt Yi Yun seriously. It was not impossible to win. As the youths began to analyze with well-reasoned logic, a cold voice shouted out, "All of you shut up." When this voice shouted out, the group of youths jumped in shock.
Who was so arrogant to get them to shut up?
But when they turned their heads to see who it was, they immediately turned silent. The person who shouted at them was the Hongdao Association's president, Li Hong.
Li Hong had a very livid expression on his face.
His eyes were fierce, as if he was a beast that was going to pounce and devour a person. In the Hongdao Association, Li Hong had extreme authority. When faced with a furious Li Hong, the other youths kept quiet out of fear.
A bunch of idiots. You still ***King dare to be stupid in front of me?
Li Hong ferociously said. The youths that were previously speaking were stunned. They were still oblivious to the situation.
Upon seeing the youth's expressions, Li Hong's lips twitched.
He wished he could throw these bunch of retards down the Tai Divine City's cliffs. He felt that, after he formed the Hongdao Association, he had gathered a bunch of idiots and that he had always been commanding a pile of trash.
These kids, when compared to Yi Yun, it was like the difference between jade and shit.
But then again, most 12 to 13-year-old kids were usually immature in their thinking.
They would occasionally make a naive mistake and say something childish. That was also very normal. But Yi Yun was different. His mind was not like a kid's at all. Yi Yun had been challenged by a great number of people over the past few days. Yet, he was nonchalant about it. He carried on eating and sleeping, not putting it at heart. Instead, he even taunted many people. He ridiculed and challenged others. These behaviors made him seem to have adolescent delusions, but the result was that the youths, ridiculed by Yi Yun, turned hot-headed and raised the stakes higher. This resulted in Yi Yun completely taking advantage of them. That included the 4 bully lords. Initially, Li Hong felt something amiss. Yi Yun always looked like he was in an adolescent delusion, but if that was so, how did he pick a primordial herb? It seemed far-fetched to explain it away with luck.
Originally, Li Hong was cautious, but he still got tricked by Yi Yun. The main reason was that Yi Yun was too sinister. Under normal circumstances, a kid from the Cloud Wilderness should not have much worldly experiences, and would not have such great power. And, it was because of this that Li Hong allowed his men to bet with Yi Yun, resulting in the bets being pushed even higher. Now, even his Hongdao Association had opened a betting pool. And Yi Yun had brought 5,000 dragon scale runes with him to bet on himself in this betting pool, betting that he could complete more than 20 battles. Once he thought of this bet, Li Hong felt breathless. He really felt his heart, liver, and balls ache. Even his intestines seemed to twist together. 5,000 dragon scale runes, with a 110 payout meant that the Hongdao Association would lose 45,000 dragon scale runes. This practically was sapping him of his life. To hope that those recruits who lacked both strength and brains could flip the tables, he might as well hope for pigs to fly. Li Hong was not naive enough to believe that Yi Yun had learned some brick mystic technique that made him that strong. Yi Yun still had not used his saber, which meant that the opponents he faced did not have the qualification to make him draw his saber. To Yi Yun, a brick was more than enough to take care of these imbeciles. None of the Hongdao Association's rookies were Yi Yun's match. They couldn't even exhaust him. These 45,000 dragon scale runes were definitely lost. Earning dragon scale runes and resources, and supporting such a large association was not easy. Li Hong's strength and talent were not the best. Although Li Hong had managed to obtain brilliant results in 1 year, he still failed to enter the heaven or earth rolls of honor. It was not easy for him to earn dragon scale runes. Li Hong clenched his fists. Separated by the stages, he looked at the linen-clothed Yi Yun that was nearly 100 meters away. Yi Yun had already placed the brick on the table and begun meditating. When he was watched by Li Hong, Yi Yun sensed it and opened his eyes, and his gaze clashed with Li Hong's. This clash in gazes made Li Hong feel a sense of fear. Such keen perception. People with keen perception could feel it when they were being secretly watched. But with the large distance between them, Yi Yun still could feel it. This perception was too terrifying. Even people who formed their heaven's eyeball were not as good. This kid, you sure are good. I admit I've been set up by you. Li Hong felt like he had been hit by a heavy blow. He had matured in his thinking early, so although he was only 14, he already had the mind of an adult. Whether it was the rich kid circle in the capital or in the Tai Divine City, Li Hong had used his excellent emotional intelligence to thrive. Or else, he would not have been able to organize such a large organization as the Hongdao Association. But today, he had been completely played by Yi Yun, a kid who was younger than him by almost 2 years. Wan Kai, if you think you can't beat Yi Yun, admit defeat. Li Hong said to the 4 bully lords Fatty, who was standing beside him. Fatty's name was Wan Kai. He was from the Wan family in the capital, which was also a very famous family clan. Wan Kai's strength was stronger than the other 3 from the 4 bully lords, but he was at best 20 to 30% stronger. Li Hong did not think Wan Kai stood a chance at beating Yi Yun. Yi Yun had not even used his weapon or moves to defeat 3 of the 4 bully lords, yet he did it so easily. It could be said to be a landslide victory. Since he knew Wan Kai was going up to be knocked down by the brick, it was better not going on stage. Wan Kai's fat face flushed red. To throw in the towel without a fight was embarrassing. But if he fought, all of the 4 bully lords would have been hit by Yi Yun with the brick, knocking all of them down. This degree of shame was not low. It would be a shameful result, whether he chose to fight or not. Wan Kai had never felt so aggrieved. At this time, Li Hong also turned to his men in the Hongdao Association and spoke without any enthusiasm, and all of you too. If you think there's no point in fighting, admit defeat. Many of his men were dumbfounded upon hearing this. Brother Hong, you want us to just admit defeat like that? Then won't everything we bet be given to him? Having gambled all of their wealth, they were unwilling to resign themselves without battling. But so what if they felt resigned? If they could get back something by taking some pain, Li Hong would have made them all go up on stage. However, the crux of the issue was, even if they all formed a bump on their heads due to the knock, it would not change the fact that they had been cheated. Brother Hong, the bad blood between the Hongdao Association and Yi Yun is known by the entire Tai Divine City. This bet was also first instigated by our Hongdao Association. If we were to admit defeat, how are we to live on in the Tai Divine City? Someone said in a depressed manner. Li Hong rolled his eye at this person. You think that if the bunch of you line up and get knocked down by Yi Yun's brick, you will still have the face to live on in the Tai Divine City in the future? When Li Hong returned with this question, no one said a word. Indeed, it would be more humiliating if that happened. They could imagine that after this battle, when people mentioned the Hongdao Association, they would say, "Are you talking about the Hongdao Association, the one where the entire association went to bully one person, but ended up being knocked down by a brick?" Of course I know about them. What? You are from that association? Nice to meet you. By the way, did you get knocked down by Yi Yun that time? Upon thinking of this, many of their faces turned livid. I'll admit defeat. Wan Kai shook his head. Since he was inferior, that was all he could do. There were a significant number of Hongdao Association youths that wanted to follow Wan Kai's footsteps in admitting defeat. But many of them were still indignant. They felt that Yi Yun wasn't that strong.
As such, Yun did not meet any significant resistance the rest of the day.
When the referee got Wan Kai to come on stage, Wan Kai immediately admitted defeat. The surrounding audience were speechless when they saw this scene.
Wan Kai's overall rank was around 10,500. He had even made a big bet with Yun. Under such circumstances, he decisively admitted defeat before even fighting. It was clear that Wan Kai had lost all hope of winning. Wan Kai left the stage in a dejected manner, allowing Yun to win without fighting. After Wan Kai, 2 Hongdao Association members who went on stage also admitted defeat.
There were also others who did not believe in heresy, such as the youth who insisted that Yun had learned a brick mystic technique. He still firmly carried out his own battle strategy, hoping to take the brick away from Yun's hand and then find an opportunity to hurt Yun seriously. The result was obvious. When the fight began, just as the youth was waiting to carry out his battle strategy, Yun just disappeared from his vision. Following that, he felt a pain in his head. He was instantly put down when his vision turned black. The youths from the Hongdao Association were stunned. This gap was too great. At this moment, this new batch of rookies in the Tai A Divine City looked at Yun with fear. Yun's strength was too great. It was too far from them. How far could Yun go in the future? What would his Earth ranking be? They did not dare to imagine it.